Did you just find me like on YouTube? Was it like a recommended video?
Yeah, I think so. I think
That's
I
crazy.
fell down the YouTube rabbit hole
Right.
basically. Yeah, because yeah, and I watch that the kind of content I watch on YouTube is sort of music therapy orientated. So, it's
Right.
not take me long to start finding other people who are doing similar things and so on. So yeah, I think it was just YouTube and I clicked on it and then followed you through to Facebook just to make that connection. Because I
Yeah.
think community, having a community of practice and just a general community with professionals sort of gaining insight from one another and getting help and having formal professional communication and also the sort of informal chats as well, just to touch base with people, see how they're getting on, especially in this strange time that we're moving through.
Right.
It's important to just stay connected.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, like my online presence really started because like music therapists are really like spread out. Like we have trouble in the US like finding communities sometimes. You can feel like and are
Mm,
very much so like the only music therapist at your job like
yeah,
often. So
yeah.
I was like looking for that community. So I
Mm,
started posting online, joining Facebook groups, and I totally agree with you. Like that professional connection online has been like completely career
yeah.
changing, like helped me avoid completely burning out early on. And you
Mm.
just get so many ideas, and even just like talking about the struggles that we're going through too, especially in like this crazy time. It's so nice to connect with other professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, being online, obviously, it completely gets rid of the geographical restrictions. And like,
Yeah,
just to go back to your point about America being, I mean, it's vast in comparison to England, which is pretty small and it's all centralized and fairly clustered together. You're never too far away from someone else doing the same thing as you or relatively the same thing as you. But in America, yeah, it just must be, you know, just this vast nothingness
right.
between you and the next music therapist or you
Well,
and the
yeah, and
next.
I'm like Midwest, Western too, and the
Yeah.
states just get so huge out there too. Like it's not an
Yeah.
easy drive to get anywhere. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So I've spoken to a few people in this way over the last couple of weeks, uh, community music practitioners and therapeutic music practitioners and so on. But you're the first clinical music therapist I've spoken to. Yay! So I'm really looking forward to
yay.
getting your perspectives on the whole thing. Um, as for me, I'm not a clinician. I call myself a therapeutic music practitioner, but I'm aware that to a certain degree that in my sessions, a certain amount of music therapy does take place, just based on the books I read, the research I study, and also the sort of things that I'm targeting in the sessions. I don't, of course, have demonstrable clinical outcomes such as a music therapist would have, but I do try and be aware of the process of music making and record it and observe it and try and hone my practice and my skills as much as possible to the benefit of other people, the people I work
Right.
with. So yeah, it's great to talk to a clinical music therapist. How long have you had your own practice for now? As I understand it, this is your own practice, isn't it?
Yes. I started it almost 2 years ago. Its birthday's coming up, but I went full time with it in September. So
Mm.
I'm kind of actually, I feel like this is the first year of business,
Right.
just because it
Yeah.
was really, really like a side thing when it first started. And it was
Mm,
almost more like a blog when it first started
mm,
because I was looking for that
mhm.
connection, just
Yeah.
looking to share ideas. So I went full time in September. And then, which is crazy to think about because it's like I was building momentum, getting all these
I
direct
know. Like six
services,
months, 6 months of like,
right?
momentum and then
Like, okay,
suddenly
this
things
is
grind
this is
to a halt.
happening. And then
Yeah.
everything basically halted. I luckily have kept about 50% of my caseload online,
Great.
one-on-one sessions,
Brilliant.
but like groups are not happening right now. Hopefully some online groups later in the year are starting to get
Yeah.
set up now. But
Yeah.
it's just been crazy since, so that was a
Yeah.
lot of my work too, those groups.
Yeah. Similar picture to me actually. Obviously what happened when the lockdown occurred was that I lost for a period of about a week, I lost all my work. So it just all
Wow,
went
this is
zoop like
scary.
that,
Yeah.
just like within a day. Like emails, we can't do this and so on and so forth. Completely
Yeah.
understandable, obviously. Oh,
Hmm.
hello, Kat.
Yeah, this is Queenie.
Oh, hello, Queenie. I think I saw you in the other day in the coffee morning. But nice to meet you formally, Queenie.
She's kind of my partner in crime, loves when I do video calls. We'll sometimes
Nice
try
one.
to crash my lessons I'm teaching, like we
Ever
jump on the
curious, yeah.
piano.
All the classic cat stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so all my work went, and then after a week, I said, I had sort of an existential crisis about work, and I thought, how is this going to ever happen? And then I thought, well, there must be some way to make this work, and let's just approach it incrementally, try and get some interest from my client base, my existing client base. So I started to put feelers out, and sure enough, after a week, I had some initial sessions, and I've got to a stage now where I've clawed back. Clawed back maybe isn't the right expression to use, but 50% of the people I work with, which is great. Like you, group work is a no-go at the moment. All of my
Mhm.
sessions online are one-to-one. And also, because I did a little bit of marketing and targeted advertising, I have got some new clients as well, which I'm sure will continue in the face-to-face real life after this lockdown has finished, which hopefully is going to be soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, similar picture to you. I have managed to uh, uh, work basically and make a living and earn a living. So I would recommend any other professional community or music providers, whatever that might be, entertainers, therapists, practitioners, and so on, to definitely give it a go if they're feeling anxious about what to do with the service that they provide. Because
Definitely.
it's easy to just say, well, that's it for the time being. I won't do anything until things change. But yeah, there is something you can do in a difficult time, I think, and I would recommend anyone to give it a go because you might be surprised at how far you can get.
I agree. And at least here, I feel like when it first kind of everything was locking down, people were like, "Oh, I'll just wait. This will be back in a week."
Mm,
And I'm very cautious. So I was like, guys, like this is a long game. Like
long haul. Mm,
it's gonna, and even things are kind of opening up here slowly. I am very slowly developing kind of in-person return. Like, what would that look like? Because I have some clients that are kind of getting ready for that, but then I have others that are like, please let us stay online as long as possible, and that's
mm,
totally okay. I think this is going to become part of my services, like
mm,
from here on out. But like even when things open, things could close again. So I feel
mm.
like
Yeah,
I feel like if you wait, you don't know when that's going to happen. So I
yeah,
agree, like
absolutely.
go ahead and try it because
Mm,
I
yeah.
think it's better than nothing. And yeah, for sure. It's just like super crazy to think. It's so
Hmm.
unknown, and as business owners, it's very difficult for us to plan.
Mm,
But I think we just need to put ourselves out there and try
yeah.
different things because I'm glad for this format and that I've been able to keep connecting with those students and clients that I have
Mm,
right now.
mm, yeah. And there's a continuity balance in a way because obviously with the risk that things might lock down again, you could start working with someone with complex needs face to face, and then suddenly that goes back to a lockdown situation where it's online. And obviously, there's a continuity issue there,
Hmm.
so that has to be addressed, I guess. And also, um, with regard to some people with complex needs, say those on the autistic spectrum, um, with the online format, a comfort zone might be being established, which isn't conducive to a person's development in whatever area that might be. So that might create a bit of resistance as well when things go back to face, because this online is such a comfortable place to be, especially if you have um, sensory processing differences or find it hard to relate to the outside world, or perhaps you have an internalized world and having a face-to-face session is difficult enough, but now you are absolutely free to retreat into that internalized world, and it then might bring forth some anxieties when you do get back to face. So there's so many different variables to consider when presenting face-to-face sessions as an option with the people we work with. Those have been my
Yes.
thoughts recently, anyway.
Yeah, so many good points, and it's just there's a lot to think about, and a lot of the clients we work with autism, they have trouble transitioning too. So it's like keeping in mind like if I go in back to in-home right now, like is that going to be a smooth transition, or are they going to think it's really weird I'm wearing a mask? But
Yeah.
as a health practitioner, I have to wear a mask. And it's like,
Yeah.
so is that worth it, or would that be a contraindication? And maybe we should continue online if it's working online. And so it's
Mm,
kind of finding that balance
mm,
between the two kind of formats, and working on like what's best for the client, maybe not necessarily what I want to do,
mm,
and that
yeah.
kind of stuff too.
Yeah, that's a key point actually, isn't it? And yeah, I think, yeah, because continuity, just to stick with that theme for a sec, is so important. And another thing that I would like to impress upon people who are professionals like us, who are perhaps wary about pursuing this online thing, is to say that to carry on doing something for people and with people who get so much out of the act of music making, I think is very important, even if the actual content itself and the session itself suffers slightly because of the
Mhm.
nature of this type of communication. I think even though we can't deliver to the optimal uh, uh, standard that we push ourselves to reach every time we do a session, I still think the continuity in and of itself is enough reason to continue to do these sessions. So that's what's given me a lot of heart to keep doing what I'm doing, is that this, just turn up. You've got to show up, and you've got to make
Yeah.
sure that you're providing continuity for people, because I think with continuity comes control. And for a lot of people I work with, people with complex needs, for example, dementia. I mean, dementia, for example, is characterized by, or can be characterized by, a loss of control, and people feeling out of control of their lives because of the cognitive, social
Mhm.
problems that come with it. And to give someone that sense of routine and structure in their life is such a gateway towards well-being. So it's just important. I think it's important to just continue where possible. So that's what I'm doing, and you are as well, which is great.
Yeah. And I love that, show up. I think that's just so important for our clients. And like that can be the
Mm,
goal of sessions right now. Like it's hard because there are so many things happening before the pandemic
mm,
and things that we're working towards. And I feel like when the pandemic happened, as for individuals, we have to acknowledge like some of the goals for our clients have changed.
mm,
Like maybe some things that were, and they could be still important, but it's like kind of meeting those basic needs, like meeting regulation needs. There are emotional needs right now that are happening from the pandemic, and
mm,
creating that continuity week by week and just showing up can be so crucial for our clients. And
mm.
so maybe like put goals on the back burner, they're still important, but like
Yeah,
really just showing up, bringing joy, checking in, and like
yeah.
keeping that relationship long term. And
Mm,
yeah, and it creates a routine for them because they're like, this is
mm,
still music time at this time every week. And so they
yeah.
log on, and a lot of my kiddos have been really excited still to see me. They're like, it's Bonnie, like
It's
when I'm on their
fantastic.
screen, and I think it's cool that we can continue those relationships. And I've
Yeah.
even starting to shift in perspective. Then it's hard, like, yeah, in person has so many good perks, but it's like I feel like now both there's good things in both. And
Mm,
so it's just like, what do you want to work on, and what can you work on in the online
yeah.
format? And there's so many good
Exactly.
things you could still work on online. And it's so cool, like almost as a society before we were like, in person is the only way to do this.
Mm,
And like, and music therapists in the US especially, like there was like a small group that was doing teletherapy before the pandemic, and they like helped to lead the charge going in, but
yeah.
before they were like trying to get people on board, like, no, we do
Mm,
this and it's cool.
mm,
And people are like,
mm.
ugh, that sounds crazy. And then everyone got thrown into it, and we're like, oh, it's not that crazy. And like I said, I think I'm going to keep this as a service long term, because there could be days like if it's blizzarding outside but a family still wants to keep that continuity, we can
There
keep
you
that
go.
continuity.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know it works now. This is a good uh, litmus test for other
Yeah,
scenarios that might require this type of way of working. So it's I'm trying to draw as many positives from this as possible. In
me
in
too.
your
It was hard
sessions
at
that you're doing.
first.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. But
It was
hopefully
hard at
over
first,
time.
but I think it's slowly growing on me. It's
Yeah.
like there's a place for this, and there's things that we
Yeah.
can do in this format, and even things that are different than when you're in person too.
Mm,
So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. In your sessions, what you specifically, what are you finding works, and what are you finding doesn't work as well? And what are the stumbling blocks of working online, just from your perspective?
Right. So things that work and like help prevent stumbling blocks. I feel like I've been trying to get better at my cueing and like my prompting, and that's something that's important for any population and in
Mm.
person. But I feel like you have to exaggerate everything online, especially like, and if you have a visual cue, you need to really make sure it's in the angle for them to see.
Yeah.
And so you have to see what they respond to with the screen, because also like maybe a visual cue in person is more dramatic and on the screen
Mm.
it's not. So maybe they need more of a musical cue and they hear that and then they like redirect back to the screen. So it's like
Mm.
playing around with cueing has, I think, been helpful, to and like to add that extra support too,
Yeah.
because I feel like modeling is harder on the online stuff,
Mm.
just because it's hard. I feel like it's hard to see your hands, even if it's in the screen. It's hard to get a good angle of the
Yeah.
instruments. And I do a lot of lessons, a lot of adaptive lessons for individuals with disabilities, and that's been like the hardest thing. Is like, okay, like we're working on these chords, but I cannot see their hands, and
Mm.
like I'll try, and then
Mm.
I got to work on like moving the screen and prompting. So it's like finding those angles.
Mm.
So with modeling kind of decrease, it's like, okay, but visually, like what could I do as cues? And musically, like what can they hear, to kind of help support like the lack of modeling and that kind of stuff. And specifically with like the online stuff, because we're in this little box, we can like play with that too. So that can be kind of the modeling itself, is like, like
Mm.
popping in and out of screen, and just really like playing with that format as well too has been fun. And what else has worked? Games have worked, kind of turn-based games more so. I do a lot of lessons right now, and we've done Battleship to like work on notes. So that's just turn-based, super easy. Like not too stressful. Simon Says is a good one. I've been doing like a lot of storytelling games, so I'll put like different movements on the piano. Like this one, we're gonna use all five fingers. What could we call that? And then we make like
Mm.
stories out of it. Or we'll do like
Mm.
a trill. What could we call that? Just to kind of work on stuff like that too. And
That's
what else?
really
There was
great.
another. Yeah, just so games have worked. And individual wise, there's the delay, but I feel like it's easier to manage than a group, because
Mm.
I like play recorded music. It probably doesn't sound the best, but it works. And if it's a song they really
Yeah.
like, they're still jamming. And
Exactly.
and you just keep going. Like that you're ahead of them a little bit, and you can kind of let them know too, like, hey, I'm gonna be ahead of you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, so if I'm not responding right away, and then you just kind of you can make music that way, and it's
Mm.
delayed and it's weird, but it still works. And
Yeah.
I feel like you just can't be afraid of the delay. Like you just have to
Yeah.
kind
You
of
just got to
embrace
go
it.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
because to them it doesn't seem like anything's delayed, and and
Exactly.
unless they're trying to talk to you and they're still going for a second.
Mm.
But
Yeah. I'm glad to hear so many positive things that are occurring during the session. It's really great to
yeah,
hear. Yeah. I'm surprised by how well it's working.
me too.
Not to say that I was pessimistic about it to start with. I knew that there would be some value, but actually, what surprised me were the intensive interaction and communication orientated things, such as reciprocity in the session. I wasn't convinced of the ability to have shared exchanges of behaviour to the extent that I am. So things like turn taking and shared attention and mirroring different facial expressions and mirroring different body movements and so on. That's been a bit of an eye opener for me, the level of functional communication between me and the other person. That's probably been my biggest surprise. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a two-dimensional space now where I'm working with the person I'm
Right.
working with. So I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that I'm gone now. And I try to be organized with what I have around me, and so I'm not gone for too long trying to find something off
Right.
screen.
I drop
yeah,
like
so
10 things in my sessions. I'm just
it's
like,
yeah, I'm all over the place. I mean, I have uh, on the floor, you can't see it, but I'm surrounded by different bits of kit, electronics, and opportunities to loop stuff and to have all these different things going on. So it's easy to be distracted by these things sometimes. So I have to remember to be focused. And I've discussed this before in a previous video, but right now I'm looking into my phone camera, and that hopefully gives you the impression that I'm looking at you and giving you eye contact when I'm talking to you. So I've been trying to do that recently as well when I've been talking, not looking at your image and playing the guitar, because that's not me looking at you, but instead looking at
yeah,
the camera, which takes a bit of getting used to, because it is a little bit odd to not be looking
yeah,
at a person when I'm having so-called eye contact. Yeah,
right.
so
I'm terrible at
some
that. I'm
things are
looking
used.
at your image right now.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, well, that's where I am, isn't it? So it makes
Right.
sense. Yeah. Um, yeah. Um, so what for people at home, not necessarily professional music therapists or whatever, what would you suggest to do, musically speaking, to stop boredom from creeping in?
Just
What
for
little
anybody
tips
at
and
home.
tricks do you have? Yeah, people who are shielding, for example, vulnerable people who are shielding.
Yeah. Well, I talked in my community coffee time video. I really believe like playlists can be super powerful, and just
Mm,
like making these playlists of your favorite music and then playing that. Even, you could be cleaning but listening to your favorite music, and that's going to help
mm,
your mood. And
mm,
then if you have people at home, like, make music with other people, like listen to the songs with them,
yeah,
discuss the songs, sing the songs, dance the songs. I
yeah,
think those two alone, I think, can be really powerful. It's like find the music you like and just engage with it.
yeah, yeah. Very simple, but very effective way of keeping, just from a mental health perspective to start with, and obviously has
Right.
some great
Yeah, I
benefits.
feel like some people are like, I need to buy an instrument, I have to learn how to play guitar. And it's like, no, you can just dance and like listen
Yeah,
to your
yeah,
favorite songs, you can
yeah.
sing, and it doesn't like you don't have to be good at singing. Like
Mm,
for me as a music therapist, it's like everyone can sing is like my
mm,
opinion, and
yeah,
like everyone can sing, that
yeah,
period. And it's like,
yeah, yeah,
and you're at home, so it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah.
so
So just
so
sing.
that's like,
That's the
yeah,
take home. Just sing.
just sing.
Oh,
It's
another
gonna be
thing as
okay.
well. Yeah, it's going to be fine. Just sing. Everything's better when you're singing. Another good thing about technology, I mean, most people have a phone or tablet device of some form. And of course, there's a lot of free music making apps that you can download and sound good on without having any technical skill, any musical skill. So I would recommend that as well. Download some free apps and start experimenting, because that actually can be really good fuel for the creativity and
Right.
so on. That can stop you from you know from from uh, degenerating, shall we
Right.
say,
And I like those
creatively.
apps. I like those apps because it's like a way to songwrite, and that's like another thing too. Everyone can songwrite, like everyone can make a
There we go.
song. You don't have to be the next Ed Sheeran. Like you could
Yeah,
just, you can use these apps and create music, and yeah, I love that. Like it's so accessible for people.
yeah, yeah. I hope my mic isn't too close to my swallowing here. Really loud
Me too.
swallowing. So.
I'm like, have
Yeah,
to
so
edit out
apps.
the drinking
Yeah,
sounds.
edit out the swallowing. Do you know what? I might not. Another thing that a couple of people I spoke to, I think everyone mentioned this actually, who I spoke to in the previous videos, was making instruments at home is really useful as well. Classic shakers full of money and
Oh
all
yeah,
that
I
stuff.
have some.
Yeah.
There's my cat to get them though.
Oh, cool.
Let's see. I got coins in the jar. I think that was in your
Oh,
first one,
yeah.
right? Well, it's
Yeah.
Parmesan,
Yeah.
but get that one. I've made some shakers. This is like a paper towel roll with duct tape, Starbucks lids, and rice.
Oh, that's really good. I like that. Yeah.
So I think this one's my favorite sound
I
of them
like the
all.
decoration as well.
Yeah, I got like alien duct tape. Yeah, and stuff like that. And then I in one video is like, this can be a boom whacker.
Oh, yeah, I saw
Like,
that. Yeah. I mean, why
yeah,
not? Yeah. Cut them to
get two
different
paper
lengths. You can
towel rolls. yeah, cut them around, and then you can hit them. And if they, if they bust, that's okay. Like you,
Yeah.
you didn't spend anything on it, and you didn't
Yeah,
even have to really make it. So
there you go. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love
I've
that
got
idea of making a service.
I had in another session, another conversation, I tried to show it was a conversation with a guy called Tom Billington, who runs an absolutely fantastic charity here in England called Electric Umbrella. And I showed him this. I'll have to just take my earphones out and get it, and then I'll explain to you what it is. So it's I call it a sharebarine, which is a portmanteau of a tambourine and the word share, and it's basically a hula hoop weighted with loads of Pringle tubes with different materials in them. And the idea is, I mean, this is perfect for families because you can get 4 people round it. If you put it like this, you can get one person over there, one person here, one person there, and then give it a big shake. So that's an example of some serious group shaking that you can do. I'll just put it back and come back over.
The sharebarine.
Just reconnect myself for a minute. Oh, it's all going to fall over, I think. Yeah, so that's the sharebarine.
Do you know the show Zaboomafoo?
No, I don't.
It was a children's show, I think on PBS in America, and they have like this lemur, and it's about animals. But they have this closet, and they sing a song about like going to the closet, and every time they open it, like it all like comes out, and they're like like every time. So I joke I have a Zaboomafoo closet because my music closet every time I open it, it's like
yeah, it's
I got
just
shakers falling on me, my quack sticks making sounds.
Yeah. I have my studio is away from home, so it's in a separate building. And it's a small room. I can't believe how much stuff I've managed to squeeze in here over the years. It's just ridiculous, actually. I will need to find a larger space at some point. But yeah, I mean that's the other thing. Actually, we're doing online sessions. Is that I am aware that I'm in here a lot more than I normally would be. Normally, when normal service is a thing, I'm getting in the car, going off to deliver sessions in the community, really, in day service and care homes with individuals at their home and so on. I normally do about 35 to 40% of my work here in the studio. The rest of it is off out. So it's been a bit of an adjustment just being in here doing stuff and nowhere else. It can get you a little bit being in a small room, constantly delivering online sessions. And also I pre-record sessions as well. So sometimes in some instances, it hasn't been possible to set up live Skype sessions just for logistical reasons. So I've been doing pre-recorded stuff. So I've been in here like a lot more than usual because the pre-recorded stuff obviously takes longer to do and then edit together and send as a video.
Yeah.
And also there's an element of perfectionism as well, because with a Skype session, you do it and then it's finished. And you don't have you can't rewatch it unless you record it. You can't rewatch it. You can't rewatch all the mistakes you made and the bad vocal cracks and all that. But with a pre-recorded session, it's recorded and it's posted online for posterity. It's, in my case, it's going to be there. I can watch it back and go, So I spend a lot of time trying to make it like ultra perfect, which is a silly thing to chase, really, silly ideal to chase. But hey, it's worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always gotten advice just share it. Like perfection's not gonna happen, and if for like people who want to make recorded videos, to like get to a point and just post it, like because you're gonna get better every time. And my videos are not the best. I have some audio stuff to figure out for sure, but as you can still help people and get that information out, and then over time you can only get better by posting basically and like making more videos. So
yeah, it's an ongoing process, isn't it?
Yeah, and to go back real quick, you definitely like hit on a difficulty for me is like I have like difficulty like sometimes with the online stuff being like, is this real? And
Yeah.
like, because it's like I'm in my room, like I
Yeah.
don't have a studio at home, and yeah, that's like that connection aspect. And then ending
Mm.
sessions is my least favorite thing ever, because you're like,
Right. Yeah.
bye,
Yeah.
and you wave, and I've seen this online that's like, why do I wave at the end of Zoom calls? I never wave when I leave the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Totally.
when you're online, you're like, hey.
Yeah. Hey, I know something I noticed actually was because at the beginning of pre-recorded sessions, I wave to no one because it's pre-recorded. I'm waving at myself essentially, and I wave goodbye because there's no one on the other end responding to me waving, which in then turn makes me respond. Then there's none of that two-way feedback. I found that my waves started getting really robotic. Hello, everyone. Like, because there's no human on the other end. I started
Right.
getting really like regimented and like, hello there, this is Matthew here. I was like, what's going on here? It's like a windscreen wiper.
That's so funny. But yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things about online is like you're not getting that physical kind of energy
Mm,
exchange.
yeah,
Even with situations like this, it's better. Pre-record is going to be the hardest, where you're like,
yeah, it
I am
is.
definitely talking to someone right now,
Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
and and so it's working on just kind of like, I feel like as professionals, we were like thrown into something completely new. And so we had all these ways we knew how to like scan a room, like exchange energy. And now it's like
Mm,
a new format. And we just
mm,
have to we have to figure it out again. We have to
yeah,
like, okay, I'm scanning this new kind of two-dimensional room. I'm exchanging different energy. Like it's still happening. Like even though it's in my
mm,
room, like I just need to kind of like absorb the new reality of
yeah,
it. And kind of like I said before, both formats are good, but I think a
mm,
lot of us don't like online just because we're like,
mm,
this isn't what I was trained to do. Like, and
mm,
this isn't, proximity is such a big thing we're taught in school. Like, if you
mm,
need to like give them that extra just physical cue of like turning towards a person, and you can't turn their camera. You don't have
yeah.
that proximity.
Maybe this way of working in the future will actually become part of the syllabus of the course.
Yeah,
Being taught. It might well come to that.
I think it should,
If this continues, yeah, it probably should actually, yeah. And there's
because I think it
obviously
has
lot,
its place.
yeah,
And
it does, yeah.
actually, I have like a little planner thing, and in January, I was like writing down all the ideas I wanted for my business in the future, and I actually did write online sessions, question mark, which like
Uh,
in the pandemic, looking back, I was like, what psychic nonsense was that?
yeah.
But because I wrote that because I had done some resource fairs, and I'm in Denver in the city, and a family would come up to the booth and be like, "Oh, we live on the Kansas border, and we
Mm,
drove hours to come to this event. Would you be
mm,
able to come do music therapy at our house?" you
mm,
know,
yeah.
like, no, like you'd have to
Yeah.
pay a lot of money for me to come.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It would, the traveling to start with.
But I felt
On
bad,
on
'cause, they need that service. So I wrote
Yeah,
online sessions
yeah.
because I was like,
There we
there
go.
are people in rural areas where there's
Mm,
just not a music therapist.
yeah,
So I got kind of
yeah,
thrown into that idea, but
yeah.
I do
But
think it has its
as we're
place.
discovering, it is valid. Going
Right.
after when we do get back to uh, normal or relative normal, what will you take from this experience that might add value to how you're delivering your sessions in real life?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think a lot of my current clients will probably move back in person. I do think, like I talked about earlier with the cues, I
Mm,
think my cueing is going to improve, because I'm just thinking a lot of like, what does the person on the other side need to understand what I'm
mm,
trying to do when we have this
mm,
online
mm,
format. So in person, I'll still like be thinking that way too. And then as a business, I think I'm going to keep this as a service. So, like I said, if there's a blizzard, we know we can go online and still have similar exchanges, and the kids will
mm,
already be like, "Oh yeah, we did this, we did this a while ago in that weird time," and
yeah.
then hopefully I can keep it as a service for people who aren't in my area that do want music as well too. And I'm really interested to see where that goes with my business, kind of like having the online still and the in-person
Brilliant.
stuff. I do think I'll struggle going back in person, because I think I'm I think I'm like I've been really
Yeah.
analyzing and thinking how to do
Mm,
it online and like
mm,
improving how I do it online. And I think I'll get
mm.
in person and be like, do I know how to do this?
Yeah, it's going to be an adjustment, isn't it? It's going to
Right.
be a real adjustment.
Like,
Where
oh
are we
man,
at?
you could see my whole wall. You're like, I can't sneak something over here real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be no sneaking. That can go. Yeah, it's going to be a real shame. Yeah.
Also,
Right,
I
where are
feel
we
like
at?
online, I have
Yeah.
like notes. I like keep my session plan like right here. And I'm not reading it obviously, but I do, like I liked that it's like right there.
Yeah,
I can write
exactly.
myself a
Yeah.
really big note of like, if I'm like needing them to turn the camera, I can write like a big note like, hey, reminder here, or like we'll need a couple minutes to like figure that out. So
Yeah.
I think I'll struggle with that in real life too, because
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
can't keep my
totally.
notes out.
You could always write things on the back of your eyelids with a bright white pen.
I'm gonna have it in my
It
hand.
might work. It might work. Yeah. Bonnie, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I'm just looking at time because the hope is that people will watch this and hopefully gain some valuable insights into online work as something that has efficacy and can be done. Um, but yeah, I'd love to talk to you again and pick your brains about all things music therapy related and so on.
Yeah.
And it's been really great to talk to you. Thanks very much for joining me today. It's been really
Yeah, thank
nice.
you so much for having me. It's been so nice to talk with you and meet you online, and we'll see each other around on Facebook and YouTube
Yeah. The
and keep
online world
connecting.
will continue.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, good luck with I hope you manage to get more clients over the next bit of time before we go back to face-to-face stuff. And yeah, good luck with it all and really nice to speak to you.
Awesome. Thank you. You too.
Cool. Take care of yourself, Bonnie.
Awesome. Thank you.
Chat soon. See you later.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.